It's not your fault. Have you ever wondered why you do the same things every day? Why is it that whenever you try and make changes in your life, you feel motivated at first, but then eventually you find yourself back at square one? It comes down to your environment. Make sure you click the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on these weekly videos. Did you know that 43% of what you do every day is made up of unconscious habits? Wendy Wood, the author of Good Habits, Bad Habits, she did extensive research into habits and why we do the things that we do. Ultimately, our environment and context says a lot more about us than we think. Think about this. Why is it that you're more likely to have a car accident when you're closer to home? This is because we start to act out of habit when we're put in situations that are familiar to us. Now, what does this all have to do with your environment, and why am I even talking about this? It's because what I'm about to tell you has the potential to make a huge impact on your daily decisions. For this video, we're going to use the home as an example. Your home is where many of your habits are born. The way that you set up your home is based on previous habits and patterns that we see around us, and of course, social norms. The question is, how can you leverage your environment to build better habits? It turns out that what we thought about willpower and motivation in regards to habit formation wasn't entirely true. Your environment is where you need to look. Let's just say that you're trying to exercise more and you also want to remember to take your medication every day. We're going to go through both of those examples, but before we do that, I want you to keep one word in mind throughout the rest of the video, and that word is friction. Let's start with exercise. How many of you have exercised less than what you would have liked to in the last week? Especially with most people at home, it can be quite difficult, and this is where your environment can make it easier to start. It begins by asking yourself a few basic questions. If you want to go outside every morning for a jog, ask yourself, where are your clothes that you're going to wear for that jog? Where are your shoes? Where are your keys? Where do you put your earphones that you're going to use while you're running? What running path am I going to take? Is it going to be the same every day or different? Planning this out is critical because it reduces the amount of decisions that you have to make for you to perform that behavior. And we know how hard it can be to get up out of bed and then try and figure out how you're going to do the run. It's a lot easier to click the snooze button. Investing in a 3M wall hanger to hang your exercise clothes, or putting your shoes right next to the door. These are the things that you can start with to make that habit or that behavior easier to start. This is how I set up my habit, and it helps me to make sure I never miss a day, because after a few weeks of doing the same thing, all conscious decisions were removed from the process and it became ingrained in my day. Remember, your aim is to reduce the amount of friction that's required to perform that task, and that's something that you're in complete control over. Now, what about remembering to take your medication? This one is surprisingly easy and it's actually really low tech. I mentioned earlier that 43% of our day is habitual. We can leverage this. All you need to do is find an existing habit and attach the medicine to it. I recently started taking multivitamins, and in the past, I've tried this before. I'd take it for a few days and I'd forget it, and eventually the bottle itself would expire. This time I used an existing habit that I already have, and I found a way to reduce as much friction as possible so that it makes it easier to take it each day. This is what it looks like. Every evening I've got a routine or a habit where I sit at my desk and I read a book. And I only spend around 10 or 15 minutes reading, but this is something that I do. The actual behavior itself is automatic, not the reading itself. And all I did was I attached the medicine to that habit. And how did I do it? I simply put the bottle on top of the book. So every time I sit down and I'm about to open it to read, I have to physically move the bottle of the pills off the book. There's no secret. Now, every single time I'm about to pick up the book, I see the pills and it reminds me to take one. This means I've never missed a day since I started, and the timing is also consistent. It really is that easy, and leveraging your environment is the first step to making all of your new habits or your goals easy to achieve. At first, it's not going to be something that is a habit, but over time, you'll realize that you won't notice that you're doing these things, and that's when the habit is born. I hope you can take these examples and apply them to your routine. Let me know in the comments section some of your ideas on how you're going to use this method and reduce friction in your daily routine. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.